people when disabling the waiting room?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll do that. Just wait a second. I'll just run this YouTube. Yeah,
People when
Yeah.
disabling the waiting room?
yeah.
Yeah.
Now everyone is.
Okay.
I'll do that. Just wait a second. I'll just run this YouTube. Yeah,
People when
Yeah.
disabling the waiting room? Hello, everyone. We're just giving a few minutes for people to join. In the meantime, just a couple of housekeeping notes. Please keep your microphone muted and feel free to keep your camera on if you're comfortable. It's always nice to see friendly faces. We'd love to get to know you better, so please feel free to introduce yourselves in the chat and make any questions you'd like. My colleague Mick will address them in the chat and bring them to a discussion later. And can you hear me well? Is it fine?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, let's just wait for a few minutes. Very happy to see you all here. Amazing to see you. If you'd like to share where you're from, more about your restoration initiatives, we'd love to hear more from you in the chat. We love the interaction we get on the chat.
Yeah.
We have John from Lisbon.
You hear me?
Sir Lord Mormon from Nigeria. Wendy from Santa Cruz. Yeah. We see a lot of people from all over the world and very happy to see you here. Ian from UK. Eduardo from Peru. Lizzie from Nigeria too. Alfonso from Chile. Jill from Scotland. Welcome, everyone. We're happy to have you here. India, Netherlands, Sudan, South Sudan. Yeah, it's so nice to see a very diverse community here. Hey, Robin, you're here. Nice to see you. I think we can start now. Welcome everyone again. Thank you for joining us. My name is Marina. I'm part of Restore team based in Brazil, and I'll moderate this session today. We're so excited to have you all here to premiere the third episode of four-part documentary series showing people who decided that you can get so much more in return when you conserve natural vegetation instead of turning everything into monocultures. And I have to tell you, this is a personally special occasion for me. Last year, I was lucky to join Julian, our filmmaker, on a journey to tell Jorge's story. Jorge is an ethnobotanist and nature guide in Brazil who has dedicated his life and career to protecting and educating others about the magic of the Atlantic forest. Along Brazil's eastern coast, the Atlantic forest, or Mata Atlântica like we call it here, is critically endangered, with just around 28% of its original cover remaining. Jorge grew up in this forest and works to protect its biodiversity through ecotourism and gastronomy. Well, I won't say more. We don't want to spoil the movie. I just wanted to share how special it was at that moment, being there, filming this video, to be surrounded by such powerful nature, and to make friends like Jorge, his family and friends, and Julian. What I felt was peace, well-being, and completeness. And experiences like this make us wish that everyone in the world could have access to a healthy environment. So now, turn up your sound, sit back, and enjoy 10 minutes of the episode 3 of A Restore Story, Jorge and the Giant Forest. And for best viewing, please move cursor outside the dark bar with all the zoom buttons so that you can see the subtitles. And I'll see you after for a Q&A with our amazing guests.
A vida é feita de momentos, de fases, né, que te marcam profundamente. Eu acho que ser criança no meio da mata é ser criança realmente natural. E aí talvez isso tenha sido as coisas que me marcou muito.
A Amazônia é tão grande, né, que acaba atraindo todos os olhares. Mas a gente tem outros biomas no Brasil que são super importantes também, porque tem uma riqueza muito grande de espécies, são biomas muito biodiversos, como é o caso da Mata Atlântica.
A cada fase da minha vida, eu acho que eu abri uma página diferente do meu próprio olhar no mesmo lugar onde eu sempre passo. É essa trilha que conecta do bairro Sertão do Taquari até a minha casa. Foi muito importante. Foi e é importante. Eu acho que é um livro infinito, aquele caminho. Né, onde a floresta e a biodiversidade, a riqueza, ela não muda tanto quanto meus olhares podem estar mudando. Então, um tempo eu olhava só para as árvores, outra fase eu olhei só para cobras, serpente, queria ver todas as serpentes, depois queria ver todos os pássaros, depois eu queria ver todos os musgos. Então, e cada vez que eu passo, eu me encanto mais. Porque eu consigo hoje ter um olhar, né, quanta riqueza dentro de todos os estratos florestais até os estratos, e conseguir entender que aquilo só é possível porque há um ecossistema muito equilibrado, em estágio de equilíbrio, né? É isso, é um laboratório, um grande laboratório vivo. E cada vez que eu me aprofundo em algum assunto por livro ou por aplicativo, enfim, ali é um lugar onde eu consigo pôr em prática tudo que eu estiver aprendendo, né, que de fato eu vou conseguir encontrar. Bom, eu sou Jorge, moro em Paraty, Rio de Janeiro, Brasil. E aqui na Mata Atlântica eu trabalho com pesquisa, né, de plantas comestíveis, mas também com resgate etnobotânico. Eu fui criado no meio da mata, bem fechada, umbrófila densa, e com meus 2 irmãos. 3 quilômetros de trilha para chegar no sítio, cruzando rios e riachos muito maravilhosos. Fomos criados 3, com a mesma filosofia de vida, que era muito baseado na relação com a natureza ao máximo, de plantar e colher o seu próprio alimento, que é o propósito do meu pai de vida, dos meus pais, né? Eu acho que começo a perceber que eu tinha uma criação muito diferente quando eu já estou um pouco mais velho, talvez aos meus 17 anos, quando meus amigos começaram a se direcionar para a faculdade ou fazer outras coisas. E aí foi quando eu despertei, falei, uau, tá, então eu preciso valorizar, estudar mais ainda. E aí quando eu me aproximo da botânica e eu abro um universo outro do conhecimento. Com o passar dos anos fui entendendo isso muito mais amplo, né? Que não só era um estilo de vida nosso, mas era um estilo de vida de compartilhamento. Então, em algum momento você derruba a floresta para você ter produção de alimentos anuais. E a gente continua derrubando a floresta, 2.000 espécies, para plantar 2, 3 espécies. E aí isso é um lugar que é cultural. E aí se você pensar que tem florestas que foram plantadas por povos tradicionais ou povos originários, porque ele tinha a intenção de ver aquela floresta como um grande celeiro de alimentos. Então as terras pretas da Amazônia têm essa história, né? Então essa agricultura que era mais restrita a um processo cultural, ela se perde e vem uma outra que domina, que é a monocultura. E aí eu volto a pensar que talvez a gente perdeu ali uma ligação mais íntima do humano e a floresta. Não a floresta intocada, mas a floresta manejada. Manejo quer dizer interação em mútuo objetivo. E agrofloresta é uma busca por esse reestabelecimento de conexão. Quando a gente comprou o nosso pedacinho de terra, que é esse quintal, a gente imaginou, cara, a gente não vai perder um espaço, 1 metrinho quadrado, para não, né, tudo isso vai ser colocado alimento. E sim, é possível ter floresta produtiva e lucrativa no sentido de vida, de qualidade de vida. E é claro que associada à experiência, ao turismo, à gastronomia, enfim, essa combinação que é o que eu vejo hoje, né? Ana? Oi, querida. Tudo bem? Bom dia.
Joia, bom dia. A gente já está fazendo esse ano 30 anos de casa e quando começamos, desde o começo, o nosso trabalho sempre muito com os ingredientes locais. E assim, a chegada do Jorge aqui no Banana da Terra foi muito importante também, porque a gente começa então a ter novas perspectivas e novos sabores.
Aí aqui é a raiz, né, que eu tô te falando que essa parte aqui vai estar mais amido, essa menos amido, porque é do ano passado. Jambu, que enfim a gente pode comer tudo, né, folha, flor. E essa é a pimenta de macaco, que aí...
Nossa, é maravilhosa!
Ela é picante, ela não é brincadeira não. Falar, eu tô aqui, o que é o alimento típico daqui? O que eu vou comer que é nativo daqui? Porque se a gente quer comer a mesma coisa que você come em São Paulo, você come em qualquer lugar do mundo, aí a gente tá complicando, entendeu? E aí isso, a gente gera um monte de impactos. Então, de fato, a gastronomia poderia mudar, sabe, muito o rumo dessa história. No sentido de valorizar cada vez mais o território onde você tá. E aí teria mais diversidade de alimentos, e muito mais originalidade em cada lugar, sabe? Cultural, que eu quero dizer. É muito bom estar aqui com a Ana de novo falando de cozinha. E esse lugar é muito bonito. Tô com os sabores todos reverberando na boca, assim. Incrível. Eu, de tudo que eu sei, é que eu de nada sei. E que acho que tenho uma missão por ter encarnado numa história, numa qualidade de vida, num estilo de vida, que talvez não tenha que ter uma única coisa ou um único caminho a traçado ou a traçar, mas a coisa que mais me encanta é co-criar ou criar coisas que valorize cada vez mais a biodiversidade, a floresta, a riqueza que a floresta oferta. Que a coisa mais importante, de fato, é essa autonomia da vida, né? Essa autonomia do alimento.
Imagine a place where you can see the entire restoration movement, where you can engage with just the click of a button. Welcome to Restore.
Hi everyone, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed it. We'd love to hear your comments, feedback, and any questions in the chat. As I said, my colleague Mick is handling the chat and will bring some questions to a discussion. Now, I'm honored to welcome three fantastic humans. It's so nice to see you again. Julian Culverhouse is a Zimbabwean filmmaker currently based in Cape Town, with a focus on character-driven stories and the language of cinema. He's determined to create compelling documentaries exploring creativity, music, and our connection to the natural world. He's responsible for our entire mini-doc series, A Restore Story. Natalia Pieta has been working as an advisor to Jorge Ferreira since 2020, providing strategic and operational support. In addition, she facilitates practical and conscious food choices. With a degree in communication and an MBA in marketing, she's currently collaborating with companies involved in gastronomy and biodiversity. And in the room, we also have Jorge, the star of the movie. He'll be represented by Natalia, but he's happy to contribute when necessary, and we can make the appropriate translations when needed. He's the son of farmers, an agroforestry practitioner, a self-taught botanist, an enthusiast, and a dedicated researcher of Brazilian biodiversity. From an early age, he learned to live in harmony with the forest and along his journey, recognized the importance of knowledge for conservation. He's committed to promoting Brazilian ingredients and cultural heritage, sharing his learnings and ideas through his work as a consultant and facilitator. So, a warm welcome to you, Julian, Natalia, and Jorge. Again, everyone, feel free to drop questions for our speakers in the chat. Please say your name, where you're based, and who the question is for. And while that is happening, I will kick us off with a question for Natalia. Natalia, we've heard Jorge's wonderful story, but what about yours? When did you choose nature as your career, and how did your path cross with Jorge's?
Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here, and congratulations for the movie. I used to work in a regular company. I used to live in a big city, and I decided to quit because it was not making sense for me anymore. I took a year, a sabbatic year, and when I got back, Jorge and I have a friend in common. And she told me, you must know Jorge. And then we start to work together. I had the opportunity to go to Paraty to meet him and his family and to be able to walk with him. And it changed my life, changed the way I see nature and life around me. So it was a blessing for me.
Amazing, Natalia. Lovely to know more about you. And I'm suspicious to say, but I love the movie too. It was very special to be here. And congratulations for all your work.
Thank you.
Now, you're welcome. Now, Julian, watching the movie, we can feel your sensitivity, how deeply you're moved by the moment, and how beautifully you're able to translate that into storytelling. I imagine each story has its uniqueness, almost like a personality. So I'd love to know, Julian, what was unique about this one?
Thanks, Marina. Hi, everyone. So I think this one actually was really unique for me for a couple of reasons. I'd never been to Brazil or Paraty before, and I think that just the forest that surrounds there and where George grew up is an unbelievably beautiful place. We kind of did this little walk from the road up to the house he grew up in, which is a couple of kilometers on this trail along a river. And it was like how intimately he knew that trail and that little stretch of forest was amazing. It was like kind of going on a city walking tour or something, but it was instead of somebody describing the history of culture and architecture, he kind of had all of this knowledge, but about the natural world. You know, every little tree or mushroom or bird had a story. And I think the depth of that knowledge was quite remarkable. And I think that set the tone for the week. On another level, I've never made a film about somebody who I can't directly communicate with. So that was kind of an interesting process. I don't speak a word of Portuguese, and Jorge doesn't speak any English. So, you know, luckily we had Marina to help translate some of it. And that helped with some conversations, but I also didn't want to stop the kind of natural flow of things. So when he was explaining things, it was only really when I got back home, went through all the translated interviews and footage that I fully understood what he was talking about, which is a really strange thing to kind of be a part of a conversation that you thought you understood, but then suddenly the real conversation reveals itself afterwards. And yeah, I got to kind of almost relive the experience again through that process, which was definitely novel.
Yeah, indeed. That trail was really, really special, and the entire experience was something like very different
Absolutely.
from everything I lived to. It was so nice. And again to you, Julian, have you noticed any change in how people think or feel about nature after watching your films or those made by others? Do they often tell you they've been moved or now have a different relationship with the environment?
To be honest, I think the only way for people to truly change their relationship with the environment is probably to get out there themselves. But maybe there's a hope that some of the films I've made at least help to spark the interest to do this or to look deeper into a subject. I think I can only say that I've definitely had my own perspectives changed from films, and I think that documentary is a great medium and a powerful tool to do this. But yeah, it's kind of funny I always have this feeling after spending a week somewhere and having this very kind of rich, like personal experience in the physical, and then you've got to try and distill it down into 10 minutes of a film, and it's never easy, but this one was particularly difficult just because of kind of how deep that knowledge is from George. So I couldn't fit everything in, but tried to give a more overarching view of what he stood for. And I still don't feel like I did it full justice after the experience that I had and kind of what ended up. It feels like there was so much that was left out. But if it did pique your interest, I would highly recommend going to spend a day or two walking around the forest with Georgie. It's well worth it.
Yeah, that's interesting that you answer that, because the entire movie is about going outside and getting to know nature with all your senses. So it makes sense. But I personally believe you truly put a lot of feeling in the movie, and I really like it.
Thank you.
So So get back to you, Natalia. Sorry, a little obvious to ask, but have you tried Jorge's natural ingredients? Do you like them? And do you think there's been a change of mind in your region or elsewhere regarding the acceptance of these ingredients?
Yes, for sure. And I think you both had the opportunity to try too, right? Being out there is it's just you need to be there to really know what all the senses and the feelings. And Georgie, when you walk in with him, he always give you something to try or two. So it's not possible not to. But there are some things that I really enjoy. There was the pupunha. I don't know if you tried, but it's the palm tree fruit. He cooked for me, he and his wife. I've tried to pacová, that it's a Brazilian spicy, like cardamom. I also try urtigão, that is a nettle. It's it's something that people usually don't use for cook, but it's amazing when you know how to cook. And also for sure the mushrooms, the edible wild mushrooms, that it's amazing to be out there, see them and know that you can eat them. And about the changes, what I've seen from these years and working with gastronomy also, that there's some chefs really engage with this, like Ana Bueno that shows in the movie, or Bel Coelho, or Saulo, or Rodrigo Belora in my region over here. So they are engaged to take these ingredients that they are not so common in our regular regular diary, for example, and they're introducing, and people are starting to try and to see, to like it. So new tastes and new ingredients are being used and developed. So I think there's a changing coming.
Glad to hear about this change. And yeah, it's indeed very special to go in the forest, try everything, and to share it with other people and in that beautiful environment. So yeah, I also advise it to everyone to try to do this. Well, for sure with guidance, because
For sure.
they have to know what they're eating. Now to both of you, whoever wants to answer first, a little more complex question. What kind of support would truly make a difference for your projects, each one in your way, but in helping to foster greater environmental awareness? What kind of support would you need for that? Yeah, whoever wants to go first.
Julian, do you want?
Sorry, I mean, are you asking in terms of which projects, in terms of future film projects?
Your in your perspective, filmmaking, and
Yes.
in Natalia's perspective, engaging people to go to the nature to get to know it with their senses.
You know, I think it's a very difficult time at the moment for a lot of NGOs and a lot of work that's maybe not directly profitable to find funding. But I do think, yeah, I think kind of goes back to the last answer that I had. And I think that documentary and film is a and journalism, I think, is a very important medium at this moment to kind of keep a true sense of kind of what's important at the moment, and to expand people's knowledge about things that I think can have a huge impact on our climate or our societies. So you know, it's difficult. I think obviously there's a new form of advertising, I feel, at the moment, where companies are kind of willing to tell stories that are related to what they do, not necessarily direct advertising. And I think that that's probably the most important thing in my industry at the moment that I've seen, is brands that are kind of willing to to put some money aside to make things that tell the stories of what they believe in, not necessarily just be selling a product. So I'd like to see more of that happening, and I think that it makes a lot of sense to me, that you kind of can have this, you build an authenticity as a brand that way, and I think that that's probably where things are going in the future.
Great. And thank you, Julian. And what about you, Natalia? Do you have any inputs on that?
For example, the work that Jorge is doing would be essential to have a financial support, of course, to be able to spread it, to be able to scale for more democratic and social works, for example, to be able to reach people through education, for example. So if you start to educate the child to have this conscience about nature, about biodiversity, probably will be having a different world from in the future, for example. So it would be really special to have people supporting and supporting this kind of projects, for example.
Thank you, Julian and Natalia. Now we'd like to hear from the audience. What burning questions do you have for Natalia, Jorge, or Julian? Feel free to add your questions and Mick will help me collect them. Mick, are you there? Could you start with the first question from the audience?
Yes, hello everyone. We have a couple of questions dripping in. Feel free to keep them coming. First one I have on the list is from Jane from Kenya, I believe. I'm not sure you're calling in from Kenya, but I know you're based in Kenya. Was the community involved or just specific people in this project and perhaps your life's work, I assume? Jane, in case you would like to clarify, feel free to jump in. But to quickly translate, a comunidade local foi envolvida no trabalho e em toda essa jornada que o Julian tentou capturar aqui através deste filme.
So I believe, yeah, this would be for both Natalia and Julian, right? Yeah. Please feel free to answer.
Uhum.
I'm sorry, when you say about the whole community, what do you mean in the movie or when at George's work? Can you clarify?
Yeah,
I think
both. I was meaning both. Like, it looks like it's a very good project whereby if the community is involved, because where they are doing the project, where they are showcasing all these edible plants, and they could help the community understand while they're doing that, so that they learn from them and also implement that in their households. So I'm just wondering, because if the community was involved or it was just interested people.
I mean, I think my understanding is that, you know, Jorge has grown up in this area and kind of lived there his whole life. And I think just from spending a week there with him, you know, every time we drove into town or all the places we visited, like everyone seemed to know him. And I think he's a very integral part of the community. So I think it's almost it's in his life's work that the community has been involved through this. And he's also somebody who I think is very multifaceted with what he does. So it kind of touches on everyone. I don't think it's kind of hard to say a specific community, but I think everything he does is about sharing it and with the local community more than anyone.
Yeah, I remember, Julian, once we were, oh, sorry, Natalia, just once we were there and Georgie was like, oh, I have a trip with the French people tomorrow to show them our ground activities. So let's go with them. So yeah, as Julian said, he gathers a lot of people. And Natalia, please give us more information about your everyday life with Georgie.
It's all true. You know, I think there's no single person that, you know, doesn't know Giorgio in Paraty or in the region. So everyone knows him and knows his family too. So if you say about his father and his father's work, everybody knows. So they are always engaged with the community in different ways. So it's true.
Amazing. Thanks. Mick, do we have another question?
Yes, perhaps a big question from Jansi Jai. I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing your name correctly. What do we do with all that we have lost and with a vast human population around us? Not sure it's directed to anyone in specific, but if anyone would like to contribute, I guess, yeah, it can be for all of our speakers. In Portuguese, o que fazer com tudo o que se perdeu e com uma população humana tão vasta?
I mean, maybe to have a quick look on Restore and try and find some hope in all the projects that are trying to build back. But yeah, I think it's devastating, and I suppose that's what the whole platform is about, is trying to find different models and ways to get back to some sort of equilibrium.
We can ask this question for Jorge to answer, but
Yeah.
what we have already talked about is that he is already seeing some important projects being leading from people that is doing a really seriously job and work. So he's doing some places getting restored. So it's not impossible. It's hard, but it's not impossible. There's some people already doing a really seriously work about it. But he can say more.
Well, thank you so much for your input. So yeah, let's ask Jorge. Jorge, você tá aí?
Tô aqui.
Então, a pergunta é: o que fazemos com tudo o que perdemos e com a população humana tão vasta?
Olha, é uma pergunta profunda, muito interessante. Eu acho que o grande desafio é entender que aonde tem humano, há grande chance de também ter biodiversidade, principalmente pensando em projetos de hortas urbanas, projetos que poderiam agregar o paisagismo mais comestível, paisagismo não só por enfeite, mas sim potencial alimentício, e que a produção fosse mais focada na humanidade e não para a produção de carne, que eu acho que é o grande desafio humano, é a gente estar gastando muito o solo para produzir ração animal. E aí muita gente passa fome, porque essa carne também não é voltada para a alimentação da sociedade mais carente, mas sim para uma luxúria planetária. Então, o grande desafio está nesse lugar de administrar melhor os espaços que temos para produzir alimento. E tem muito espaço para produzir alimento. E outra é evitar desperdício, que na realidade a gente não aproveitamos tudo que estamos investindo de energia na produção agrícola mundial, porque temos muito desperdício e não chega na mesa da humanidade.
Obrigada, Jorge. Natalia, would you like to translate it or would you like me to?
Feel free, Marina.
Okay, so Jorge said it's a fast question. We have to understand that where there are humans, there is biodiversity. We're seeing people already restoring ecosystems. And currently we're using we're using too much of the soils and resources to produce meat, which is a luxury. And at a global scale and current consumption levels. And we should prioritize new ways of producing and centering them more on humans, but also always integrated with nature. So, yeah. Mick, do we have another question for our guests?
Yes, we have from Sir Lord Marmon Knight from Nigeria. How can your products be implemented in this area? Or I guess if I can paraphrase a bit, what learnings do you believe can be applied or transplanted elsewhere in Sir's region in Nigeria? Did I capture that well, Sir Lord?
Hello, good afternoon.
Hello. Yes. So.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes, you are on to Lord Mammon from Africa, Nigeria in Africa. My first question goes this way. Can't your people implement this project in our country in Africa, like Nigeria? Because we are suffering the same over here. And the deforestation issue is something that is going deeply, that many communities, many fishing ports, fishing camps, and oil and gas community in Nigeria, they are not having a good forest preparation for their people. So I want to ask, can't you people implement these projects in our West Africa?
Okay, thank you, Sir Lord Mormon. I think this one goes to Natalia, right? How do you think your work could upscale to elsewhere in the world and make people closer to the environment?
And if you want to translate in Portuguese for Jorge too, I appreciate. Yeah, tell him.
Yeah, if you'd like. So, in a way, how can this... yes, in Portuguese. Como é que a sua jornada e este trabalho de reconexão com o ecossistema e também transformação, eu acho que do sistema alimentar pode ser relevante ou até implementado noutros lugares? Essa é a questão aqui do Sir Lord.
A pergunta desculpa, eu perdi um pouquinho. Você pode refazer?
Sim. Se tem forma de, digamos, de aplicar o tipo de aprendizados e trabalho noutras regiões. A região aqui do Sir Lord é muito afeta por desflorestação e degradação ambiental também. E se há forma de digamos, desenvolver este tipo de trabalho também noutras regiões, o que é que você tem a dizer sobre isso?
Sim, eu acho é um modelo, na realidade, mais voltado. Eu acho que é um grande resgate de procurar pessoas que têm esse conhecimento intrínseco sobre a biodiversidade local em cada lugar, compreender ao máximo a relação entre toda essa biodiversidade e o humano em conjunto. Então, identificar essas pessoas e transformar ele em uma voz multiplicadora, praticar ações ligadas à permacultura, agrofloresta, que pode ter nomes distintos em cada lugar, mas a ciência é entender que a restauração dessa paisagem é a partir das próprias espécies nativas de cada local, e se relacionar com essas espécies, entendendo o valor dela para o humano, alimentício, medicinal, o que seja potência. Então, a partir dessas espécies, desse conhecimento, criar movimento de regeneração em cada local aonde a gente esteja pensando. E cada lugar do planeta existe a sua paisagem típica. O que temos que fazer é nos relacionar de forma muito íntima e daí proporcionar que ela se multiplique. E a gente também se relacione de forma harmônica e nesse lugar de simbiose.
Obrigada, Jorge. I will translate what he said. He believes that this is a model that focused on identifying people that have local knowledge and who can facilitate this connection between humans and nature, sharing knowledge on local species and how they can be used and conserved at the same time, which is something specific to different regions. Natalia, is there something you'd like to add on my translation? I know you work with Jorge every day.
Yeah, what I've seen working with him is always this conscience about, what it was there beside, what is nature, what it's from that place that we can input, and also to see, do you have people, the ancestors, what they used to do, what kind of plants they used to use or to grow, So adding this historical events and the story of that land, for example, to be able to now reproduce that. So it's like if it was a restart, what was there before? How can we do that now? So use the knowledge of these people, plus, like Jorge said, the agroforestry or permaculture. So those are some of the systems that are really important in this process too, but always with this connection with the human being, with the nature.
Fantastic, Natalia. Mick, another one?
Yes, we have a question from Sasa Emanuel. What challenges did you face making this film in Brazil, producing this film in Brazil? And when or how do you get support, financial support for these projects?
I guess this one is to Julian, right?
Sure. I'd say the main challenge was mosquitoes. To be honest, it was a really smooth week. It was kind of all set up before, thanks to Marina, and Jorge was very like free and open with his time. So it wasn't like a big film crew going in there. It was just us, and we kind of wanted to spend as much time with him as possible and really understand what he was doing there. So I would say, yeah, I think if you're looking to make films in that manner, I think you can still make something of good quality without having to spend a huge amount of money. And I think the most important thing is kind of the story at the center. But yeah, I think in terms of funding, this was funded by Restore. And I think, yeah, they decided they wanted to try and highlight 3 or 4 different forms of restoration or connection to the natural world that was a little different from the usual. And that's what we tried to do with the series. So we kind of spoke to hundreds of different projects and then slowly narrowed it down to the 4 that are going to be coming out. This is the 3rd. And it was slightly to do with which region, as we wanted to have some diversity in terms of where they were made. So one was in India, we ended up doing 2 in Brazil, and then the last one's going to be in Zimbabwe. So maybe that's a bit more info. I hope that helps.
I didn't realize the mosquitoes were so challenging.
I was covered. I was rabid.
For you. A blood from
Fresh blood.
outside. Yeah, from abroad. Thanks, Julian. Again, Mick, do we have another question from the audience?
No, let's see. Jane is asking, how can restoration projects be featured? I presume that's perhaps more for the Restore team.
Yeah,
And
I think
yeah.
the ones about the Restore team, for the Restore team, you can write to us. My email is marina@restore.eco. So please, if anyone has any question about Restore, please feel free to write to me. And yeah, I think there's another question from the audience, right, Nick?
Let's see, am I missing something? Please
From,
feel free to read it out. Yeah.
From Raj Kamal. I don't think we read this one. Raj Kamal is asking, would say these resources are also accessible by local community, and how can the community or everyday people know that what is edible or not? Natalia, I think this one is for you.
Could you please translate to Portuguese, please?
Ok. Jorge, uma pergunta do Raj Kamal. você diria que esses recursos também são acessíveis à comunidade local? Eu imagino que ele esteja falando dos recursos alimentícios. E como a
Uhum.
comunidade ou as pessoas comuns podem saber o que é comestível ou não?
Muito boa pergunta, muito boa pergunta. Na realidade, quem mais deveria saber e mais democrático impossível, pois os alimentos silvestres, plantas e fungos comestíveis nativos de cada bioma, eles às vezes estão muito intrínsecos no conhecimento da população local. E às vezes esses conhecimentos caíram no esquecimento por um pacote, né, de alimentos industrializados que distanciaram as pessoas desse conhecimento mais ancestral e popular. E o que precisamos fazer é um movimento contrário, que esses recursos são tão democráticos e crescem tão perto da gente, de todas as pessoas, e que a gente precisa muito se empoderar desse conhecimento e procurar estar ele dentro das nossas próprias comunidades. Então, onde está esse conhecimento? Dentro das comunidades. Como que a gente pode talvez se embasar? Aí, é claro, buscando recursos científicos e acadêmicos para nos respaldar com isso. Mas o conhecimento vem de dentro das pessoas que vivem nas comunidades.
Obrigada, Jorge. To everyone, Jorge said, this is a great question. Sometimes knowledge in general, knowledge on edible species belong to local people, but industrialized food made us lose this connection. So for Jorge, it is fundamental that we rescue this knowledge within the society, that we find the people that know it to make this knowledge available again. And at the point we are in our society today, he said that it is important to count on scientists to do this bridge between the rescuing this traditional knowledge and putting this into practice. So yeah, obrigada, Jorge.
Por nada.
Mick, do we have another question? I don't think so, right?
I think there's some incoming. I believe this has been addressed, but have vulnerable communities been included in the project, or is Jorge working with vulnerable communities?
Natalia?
Not right now with some specific projects, but he does a lot of projects with schools. He loves to work with education. So now he works with some companies that are worried and thinking about all the conception from the families that works in the lands to the end to keep the forest alive, but not specific with communities. He always does works if there's something going on the city, and he's always involved, but he doesn't have a specific project right now.
Okay, thanks, Natalia. I think if we have any question, we have time for just one more question. Is there anything there, Mick? If there's not, we can wrap up.
I don't see any. Rita, feel free to ask the last question.
Okay, go ahead.
Is that okay? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. I hope you can hear me. I had posted my question on the chat. My question is do you intend to translate the film into other languages other than English and Portuguese so that you can reach a larger audience?
I think this one is on our team, right? In general, we have our team is spread all over the world and we speak different languages. So in general, we add subtitles in different languages. But yeah, please feel free to suggest to us a specific language and we'll be happy to make the translations on YouTube.
Like Swahili, because I'm from
Swahili.
Kenya. Yes.
Maybe Ruth from our team. I don't remember if she speaks Swahili, but yeah, let's
She
try.
does. She does.
She does?
I think
Oh,
so.
that's
Yeah,
great.
she does. Yeah. Yeah,
So-
and if you take a look at our previous videos, and there are already like some other subtitles there.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much.
That's great. Thank you for your interest in spreading this in your own language.
Hey, Marina, sorry, but a question came in which I think might be quite interesting if we have just another minute.
Yeah, well,
Around-
just, yeah, another minute is fine.
Yeah, so Robert is asking, is the forest we see on the film on private or government land? How can it be protected in the future?
So yeah, to you, Natalia.
Just let me be sure with Jorge. Jorge, essa área da Mata Atlântica que vocês filmaram, ela é do governo ou ela é particular?
É parte do governo e parte particular.
So,
Tá me ouvindo, né? O sítio onde está a nossa propriedade, a metade do nosso sítio ele está dentro de um parque federal. E a outra parte toda são propriedades particulares. Mas muito conservada, e todos os proprietários têm essa visão da conservação e de manter a floresta em pé.
So part of the forest that you could see on the video, it's public and part it's private. And on their land, part of the land, it's part of a private conservation area. It's from a conservation area. But all of the people around there they have the lands, they are really conscious about conservation, so they are really involved with that too.
Maybe just to add to that, I mean, I think so. So yeah, there's some private, some public, but I think that even Jorge's backyard there behind him, which is probably only 5 by 5 square meters or something, he's practicing the same principles he's talking about with agroforestry, as his much bigger piece of land in the mountains. And then I suppose that is also emulated in the forest. That's a much bigger area, and that's the public land. So I think it kind of applies to anywhere. It doesn't matter how small the piece of land is.
Sure. Yeah, very interesting point. So yeah, thank you so much for sending in your questions. This is the kind of interaction we love to see. We're almost out of time now, but before we wrap up, we have a final word from our special guest today, Jorge. He'll give us a message in Portuguese and Natalia will translate it into English for everyone. So, Jorge, por favor, sua mensagem.
Minha mensagem. Minha mensagem é que a paixão, né, pela biodiversidade, pelo verde e pelo planeta, ele cresça e vibre cada vez mais no coração das pessoas, e que a gente leve muito mais a sério essa relação que o ser humano precisa ter com a natureza interna, com a natureza externa, e que cuide de fato desse planeta, pois nós dependemos muito dele. Ele não depende muito da gente, mas que a gente precisa cuidar. Senão, daqui a pouco, quem vai entrar em extinção é a gente.
Lindo, obrigada. Natália?
So may the passion for biodiversity, for greenery, for plants and for nature, for the planet, that vibrates from the inside out, multiply and flourishing. May more people take these connections seriously and putting their desires and traits into actions to protect and care for the planet's biodiversity and care for the biodiversity. May them plant more, care more for plants, and in doing so, take better care of themselves. We need to take care of our planet.
Thank you, Natalia, and obrigada, Jorge. What a wonderful message to wrap up and take with us. It's been a pleasure to be with you all. Thank you, Natalia. Thank you, Jorge. Thank you, Julian. And thanks to everyone who joined us. You're so special. We still have one more film to premiere this year from a Restore Story series, so stay tuned. check the QR code on the screen that it will direct you to our series of movies, Restore Story series. And wish you a wonderful day. Bye.
Thank you all, guys. Thank you
Thank
for
you,
having
Marina.
me.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you. Obrigado, Jorge.
De nada.
Obrigada.
Bye, bye.
Valeu,
Obrigado.
Jorge.
Bye. Thank you so
Bye.
much.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you very
you.
much. Bye.
Muito obrigado.
Bye.